Hey everyone, it's Dan here at J&D Gardens. If you're a new viewer, welcome. Please support the channel by planting that subscribe button. And if you're already a viewer, welcome back. Well, we got a great episode for you today. We're going to be getting our first harvest of worm castings from our Hungry Bin worm farm. And we're also going to be giving you our thoughts on worm farming and the Hungry Bin itself 5 months in since we started. So stick around. Welcome back. So if you didn't see the first episode in this series, we talked about what worm farming or vermicomposting is all about and the benefits of it. We also talked to you about different kinds of worm farms that are out there and ultimately why we decided to go with this one in particular, the Hungry Bin. So we'll leave a link to that video at the end of this one so you can get all caught up. So here we are 5 months later, and before we get into thoughts on the Hungry Bin, I just want to talk to you about vermicomposting. So we've actually done worm farming in the past, but this is the first time that we've really gotten serious since we've purchased the Hungry Bin. And let me tell you, it's been great. If you're a serious gardener, or not even a serious gardener, if you're an avid gardener, you might want to consider doing some kind of worm farming, whether it's the Hungry Bin or another one, because it's been a really interesting experience, let me tell you. And for us, it was like a trial by fire. Starting it off, when you start anything off, you're wondering if you're going to do well and all the worms are going to survive. Kind of like starting a plant. You got to make sure you take care of it and nurture it so it can grow well. Same thing with the Hungry Bin. So that was back in April when we started, and we made it through there. Then we had to deal with a brutally hot summer. Now, if you're from the Northeast, like we are here in New Jersey, you know how hot and dry it was. 90-degree days constantly, no rain in sight. So it was kind of rough. Worried about how to keeping these little guys alive. Every now and then I would, I would check it every day, but every now and then when I'd come, it was funny. It would get so hot in there. You'd actually, when I'd open up the lid, you'd see the worms kind of crawling up, like thousands of them crawling up through the lid. I should have taken a picture of it. Next time I see that, I will, and I will post it, or I'll put it in the next video. So it's been very interesting. It's been a very interesting learning experience, but the benefits have been wild because any kind of worm farm will produce liquid fertilizer, what they call, which is the excrement, I guess, from the from the worms, and it is incredible stuff. If you can look down here, this particular worm farm collects the liquid on the bottom, and let me tell you, it's great. The plants absolutely love it, and I consider that as just an extra bonus, because the real thing of getting a worm farm is the worm casting. So having that much liquid fertilizer for us is just a bonus. And this particular model says that the Hungry Bin says that it could produce about 1 liter a week. Let me tell you, I'm getting a lot more than that. I usually find that it's overflowing, but every time I come to get it, because I just, it just produces so much. This area has to be the most fertile ground ever because everything's just dripping there, and I can't keep up with it. But it's been great stuff. Another real big benefit, and I talked about it in the first video, is that here at J&D we do a lot of composting. So we have our camp compost where we develop a great amount of compost for everything that we grow here at J&D Gardens. But so whenever we would have things like food scraps or plant clippings, we would take it over to the compost bin. But we don't do that all the time. So when we'd have food scraps, we'd have to store them in the refrigerator until we're going to go out to camp compost and dump it in there, because we're not doing that every day. The great thing about having a worm farm, whichever, is that you can just go there. You're going to keep it close to your house and or in your garage or wherever you're going to keep it. You just go there. You can go there every day and just dump one thing or a bunch of things. In the morning, if I'll have a banana in the morning, before I go to work, I'll just I'll come here, drop the peel in there, or before I go to the gym, I have an I'll just dump the peel in there, and no problems. And nothing, if you're like us and you hate wasting anything, nothing goes to a landfill, which is really, really cool. It's helped us to become more conscious of the environment, and it's really been a good experience, learning things and just the benefits that we get from it. So again, if you're thinking about getting into worm farming, give it even more thought, because it's really going to help you out with your garden. Now, going into the this particular one, which is the Hungry Bin, I've had other worm bins in the past, smaller ones, nothing too major. But as far as a large one, this couldn't be any happier with this. This bin has been doing really great. Like I said, it's been helping produce a bunch of worm juice, what they call it. It's been safe, so no animals have been getting in here. It's held up well, and I am dumping a lot in there. We said we do a lot of composting. We used to keep all the clippings from the gardens would go to our to the compost bins, but now, and also our food scraps. But now all the food scraps go here, and all the clippings from the produce plants come here, and the rest of it go to the compost bin. So it's getting a lot. We grow, just for instance, a lot of tomatoes. I think this year we're growing over 40 different tomato plants, and the clippings, the suckers, and all the things. It's been amazing how much we're cutting every week, and it all goes in here, and the worms are just devouring it. So it's been great. They've been producing, like I said, producing a lot of worm juice, and I'm sure that they've produced a great worm castings. Now, the Hungry Bin says it's been about that within 4 months you would have your first castings. Now, we're actually 5 months to the day, oddly enough, today. I think, and the reason why it's gone so long is just it's been such an incredibly busy summer, and we have not had a chance to. We're out here every day to drop food scraps, but we just haven't got around to making this video. So I'm glad we're finally doing it. So probably a little bit behind, but that's okay. My second harvest will come out quicker, so that's okay too. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna couple of things about the Hungry Bin. We talked about one of the reasons we liked it so much is because it's mobile and it's on wheels, so we can move it around. Now it's summertime. It's still summer. We're in the middle of September, but it's still hot now. So we're in this side of the property, the house, that doesn't get that much sun, but it's still crazy hot. I think it was 85 degrees today. And next week, I think it's going to go into the 90s again. So this side of the property, it's been great. If I had put it somewhere else, more in full sun, oh man, I think these worms would have baked. So that's a great benefit of being mobile. Now, in a couple of months, in another month or so, when it starts getting a little cooler and the sun starts going down earlier, we're going to move it to another part of the property, like we talked about, that's getting more sun, just to keep them warm. And then ultimately, we'll put them in the garage during the winter or something like that, just to make sure they don't die. Now, a couple of things that I found, and I've read that worms don't like noise, but it was so hot this summer that when I was figuring out where I wanted to put the worm farm, the Hungry Bin, I actually put it by our condenser here. And the reason why I did that, I know it makes a lot of noise, so they say that it bothers them, but didn't stop them from eating. They were eating nonstop. But the air that the condenser generated, I think, was helping cool it down a little bit, because it was some crazy hot days. Even here in the shade, this area doesn't get really any sun, but it was still incredibly hot. So I think it helped, because no dead worms so far. So if the noise, like I said, if the noise bothers them, well, didn't ruin their appetite. So that I can tell you. So that's why it's kind of sandwiched in here. We have a storage locker here, and then we have our condenser. It's here for a reason, just to help it blow some air in it to try to cool it down. Another thing is the way the Hungry Bin works. It collects the castings in the bottom, which we'll do in a second. And I actually got this from a viewer that they said that when they first started off their Hungry Bin, I guess they put too much in there, and everything kind of fell from the bottom. They didn't have it secured well. So I said, you know what? I don't want to take the chance that happens. So we have these bungee cords, and it's real simple. One, it'll help. There's a lock on here, so no animals are going to get to it, but it helps keep it down a little bit better. So it's an added bonus there, but it kind of locks both sides together. And if I ever need to move it, just helps keep it together so this bottom tray doesn't fall out and everything falls from the bottom. That would be absolutely terrible. So let me open this up, and let me just kind of show you. Let me get some gloves on. Like I said before, I'm not generally too squeamish, but you never know. So hopefully this doesn't. One bad thing about any kind of worm farm, the smell can be pretty serious. I kind of mentioned this in the first video. You can put leaves on the top to help bring out the smell, but it's still going to smell. It is rotting food, so I'm wondering when I open this up, the smell, if it hits me, hopefully I don't hurl. And tell me, if I hurl, should I aim for inside the Hungry Bin or on the outside? Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. So why don't we bring the, oh boy, yeah, bring the, whoop, there you go. That's the bungee cord. Let me see. Bring the camera a little closer. Now I added some fresh fruit in there yesterday because I'm trying to get all the worms to come to the top so that nothing ends up inside the bottom. But worms don't like the light, so as soon as they light, they start digging in. So let me close that up. But here's one guy hanging out. Yeah, there he goes. And like I said, when it gets really hot, sometimes you'll see thousands of them. It's wild, crawling up this area. I really should have taken a picture. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. And yeah, it does smell, but thank God it's not making me throw up. So let me just close this thing. One original thought, and I got actually a lot of people saying this in the reviews when I was talking about, is that that there wasn't enough air circulation. If you see here on the top, there are a bunch of holes here, and that's for air circulation. Now, what a lot of people do, they drill other holes. I'm not going to do that to mine because if you drill bigger holes, the worms can escape through there, and we don't want that. So that's probably why they were all building up here, because they were just trying to get some more air. Oh, boy, that smells. Okay, let me close that up. So, oh boy, here we go. All right. So if I come down here, you can see the tray, and this is totally full, and I emptied it last week. So look at that. And that's, like I said, that's the best fertilizer. I can't wait to use that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the tray out of there off camera, because I'm probably going to make a mess here because I let it go too far. And I'm going to bring the Hungry Bin over to the front by Garden South. So I'm going to prop it up on the table so you can really see what it's like when we pull the castings out, and maybe we'll get a look underneath. It'll be easier to film going up. So give me a minute and I'll bring it to the front. Okay, so we're here in front of Garden South where it all started 5 months ago. And well, I took the worm tray, it started to drip, so gotta do this quick. I kind of skewed the tray a little bit when I was bringing it over, but I think we'll be okay. So what I'm gonna do now, you saw the inside. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna release the bungee cords, and I'm gonna open up, the tray in the bottom and pull out the castings. Hopefully it won't make a spectacular mess. Hopefully there aren't too many worms there either. And hopefully, really hopefully, everything doesn't fall out. But I doubt it after 5 months, so I think we're gonna be okay. So it's pretty simple. Do you wanna bring the camera around so we can see? Right around there so you can see. So as I open this up, unlock the sides, the clips. Now I kind of messed something up here because I was moving it, but let's see. Let's see. Whoa. Oh, still. Whoa. Hey, look at that worm trying to get away. Now, look at that. That is some pretty poop, I guess. You can see that. Wow, that's, remember when it went in, it was all, wow, look at this. It's broken down. They're not kidding. And luckily, I do not see too many worms. You know how when you get, you see like packages, like commercials for like, for like what a burger looks like at a particular restaurant, and once you get it, it looks nothing like that. It's some squashed thing or something like that. Any kind of product. But if you see the original video, and we'll leave a link to that that the owner made, the inventor of the Hungry Bin made, and he showed what it looks like at the end. It actually really does look that pretty. This is really good stuff. Now, I try not to put too many big pieces of material in it, so it's easy for them to break down, but that's some really rich stuff. Now let me get underneath here. Okay, wow, yeah, looks like there's stuff ready to come. I'm gonna move this out of the way, and we're gonna let the camera take it off the tripod, and let's take a look at it so you can kind of see. That's why I kind of wanted to go up. Let's see. Wow, it's like a whole, okay. It's like a whole thing going in there. Can you make that out? Look at that. I don't want to touch it because it might all fall. There looks like there's a whole nother brick up there. And like I said, not that many worms. So I'm pretty impressed. I imagine once I start dropping more food in there, it'll start pushing it down. So pretty cool. For the first casting, pretty awesome. I'm really, really happy with it. Excuse me. I'm sure the garden's gonna love this. So let me find another tray to put this in, and then I'm gonna put this back so that nothing else starts falling out. So give me a second. Wow, that's pretty wild. I'll show you what the tray looks like. Yeah, we got some stragglers in the bottom. That's okay. Okay, so this is what the tray looks like. And it's a filter here, which all the worm juice comes out of the bottom. So this is pretty clean. I think I'm good with it. I want to get this on before anything falls out. I think we're okay, but obviously you want to be careful. So let me just lock this back into place. Okay. Okay. It's really easy to lock in place, and that's not going anywhere, but you never know. And I don't want to make it seem like this isn't built well. It's built extremely well. I'm just overly cautious. And why not? And especially when I move it around, God knows. So, okay, cool. So, now what I talked about in the first video about obviously it has a lot of benefits that doesn't necessarily have a cost to it, but this particular bin does have a cost, and it's probably one of the more expensive worm farms out there that I've seen. At the time that I bought this, 5 months ago or 6 months ago, before I started, it was about $360. So what I said I was going to do is I was going to see how long it took us to pay back in worm castings, pay back the to make up for the cost of it. Now, when I talked about it, we figured that worm castings were about $1 a pound. So we're going to find out how much this is, which it seems like it's a large amount, and we're going to start deducting it from the bottom line, which is, like I said, $360. And like I said, and as the episodes go by, we'll see, how long, a year or two, however long it takes us to pay it off. But like I said, the benefits of throwing your food scraps in there and worm juice, which I should probably should have thought that. I probably should have measured that, because I can kind of figured out what good liquid fertilizer. That would have been a really fair thing to do. Maybe I'll start doing that. I'm not sure. For now, I'll stick to the worm castings. So, obviously, wow, this is a lot. So I think what I'm going to do, since there still might be some worms here and I want to get all the big materials out before I weigh it to see how much we got, I'm gonna bring over our sifter so we can screen this all out and get any worms out, put them back in the firm, then ultimately have nice clean worm castings, and then we'll weigh it. So let me put this back where it came from, and then I'll bring out our sifter. All right, so I'm starting to lose the light here now. A good rule of thumb when working with fresh compost or worm castings, for that matter, is before you screen any of the material, you want to make sure you dry it out a little bit. If you see these worm castings, they're very moist. Now, if you're gonna just put it into your garden, that's fine. Just put it into your garden like that, and that's fine. But I'm actually gonna save it. So, before I run it through the screener, because right now it's like mud, I'm gonna let it dry out for about a day or so. It's gonna be pretty sunny tomorrow, so I've picked out as many of the worms that I could find in it, and I put them back in the bin. But like I said, if I try to run this through an 1/8" forget about it. It's gonna be a mess. So I have this large tray here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spread this out in here. I'm gonna spread out a couple more worms. I'll grab a few other ones. Okay, I'm gonna spread it out as best as I can. And I'm going to leave it on the driveway tomorrow. The sun will hit it. It'll start drying it out. And it'll be a lot easier to run through the screener. Trust me on this. If you were to put this wet material, it's like putting mud in through like a colander or something like that. It's just going to take forever. And it's going to make a big old mess. And you're going to wind up getting rid of most of it. So like I said, we'll let this dry out. And hopefully tomorrow or the next day, we'll show you how we run it through the screener. Hey there. So it's the next day, and we have our worm castings here, and they've dried out pretty well. Like we showed you, we put them in a trough, and we left them out on our driveway. And it was pretty warm today. It was like 90 degrees, so it dried it out pretty well. Not all the way dry, but just enough that it's going to be a lot better to screen. Not like that muddy mess that was yesterday. If I would have tried to screen that, it would have just been a nightmare and wasted a lot of time and effort. And now that it's dried out, I can see kind of the larger pieces that worms might have missed. So that's why it's the perfect to screen this. Like I said, if you're going to use it in your garden, just put it in your garden right away. It's fine. We're looking to collect a bunch of it, save it, because we don't really need it in our garden now. Save it for probably the spring, when we start making potting mixes. So it'll be there ready and waiting for us. So normally at this time I'd be reaching for my trusty box screener that I've had forever. You can tell it looks like it. Has an 1/8" screen to get everything nice and fine. But luckily enough, we have Hercules here, which is our homemade table screener that unlike our larger screener that you've seen, Zeus, in other videos, Hercules is meant for the small jobs. We use Zeus for when we're doing large amounts of compost or just sifting out rocks from the dirt. But I made Hercules here for the smaller jobs. So when Jackie's doing her potting and we want to separate any kind of the bigger material from any kind of potting mixes, and in this case we're going to also use it for first time for our worm castings. So it's a pretty straightforward machine. We made it out of metal so it could hold up and we can keep it outside so it's not going to twist or warp like wood would. We made the box, which is about 18 inches wide by 24 inches long. We made it out of PVC, so it wouldn't rot. It's suspended with these springs, kind of act like shock absorbers. And what I can't leave outside is what it's powered by, which is a motor, which is a rotary motor that will vibrate this bed here, and all the bigger material will stay on the top and all the fine material will fall to this trough here in the bottom. So what I also did here is I attached a variable speed control. These are pretty, you can find these at Harbor Freight or on Amazon. We'll leave some links for it below. And I can adjust the speed that this motor works on, because if I left it full speed, it'd probably shake everything apart. And for a little bit extra, I added a foot pedal. So when Jackie's at the table working, or myself, I do a little potting too, believe it or not. We can just kind of step on it and not to worry. And we don't have to reach for the control each time. And these foot pedals are great for any kind of, a lot of people use them for their power tools, and that's what I actually use them for in my shop. But I figured this was a perfect opportunity to use this, so I don't have to, like I said, reach for the control. So let me just show you how it works. So I have a couple of pieces here. So you would put the material in here in the top, and like I said, I'll turn it on for a little bit. And it shakes, and it'll drop everything to the bottom. I'm going to show you this motor's a little strong, so we're going to lower it a little bit because we don't want it too strong, and to shake everything loose. It was the smallest motor I could find, so what I would do in this case, I would grab a scoop, and it makes short work of it. Let me bring the camera a little closer and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so as you can see, the bed is collecting all this big material, which I can break up a little bit more. So I'm gonna grab a scoop. Step on the pedal. It disappears. And I can break up and catch any worms, any stragglers that might have stayed by. We want to protect them. And that's another reason why I'm using this, because I want to collect any worms that might have, I was picking out all the worms earlier and made sure that there was none left, but obviously you missed some. But you see, it makes really short work of it. So like in 2 seconds, it's all gone. And I can take this stuff, break it up a little bit more, but really easy to do. So again, step on it, so let me put a large amount. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on, and then we just keep feeding it. See all the big pieces? Now, I could probably break this up a little bit, which I will, because I want to show how much, I don't want to waste any of it. Actually, I want to show how much how much worm castings I got. But as you can see, big chunks, and see? That's the beauty of this. And some pieces will be just too big, but you can spend a little time. So you can imagine when you're doing potting mixes, there's still a lot of twigs and pieces inside. There we go. Let's see. That's not too bad. I'm really happy. Look at how much it took away. Okay. Let me step back. Let me pull the tray. And look at that. Oh, yeah. Looks like if you see me do my compost, a few worms made it through. These were the skinny guys. So I'm going to go through this, but look how fine it is. This is what we're looking for. I'll probably run it, let me put these over here. I'll probably run it through the screener again just to try to get any other big pieces. I mean, why not? It's just soft and fluffy, and like I said, not too wet. So when I store it away, it's going to be fine and won't collect any kinds of bacteria or anything. But I got to make sure I get all the worms out. So what I'll do is probably one more time, I'll show you how it is. I'm just going to put it all in here. Okay, throw it in there again. Let's see. Should run through a lot easier now. That's it. That is pretty good. I can live with, I mean, look at some of these pieces. They're just not gonna, they're not broken down yet. So like I said, maybe I'll throw it in the compost bin or something else. So let me finish this up and we'll wait and see what it's like. All right, so we have our worm castings all screened out. I found a container big enough that will, or small enough that will fit on my scale here. I probably have to get a bigger one. Let me turn it on. Great. All right. So this container weighed about 6 ounces. So whatever the weight is, we'll subtract that and we'll know how much we made. So let me put this on there and let's see what we did. We did 12 pounds, 5.7 ounces. So we'll call it 6. We'll call it 12 pounds. And you know what? If I would have weighed it when it was wet right out of the bin, probably would have weighed another 5 or 6 pounds. But this is good because this is how I'm planning on storing my, keeping my worm castings dry so I can save it for the spring. So not too bad. The first harvest, it's pretty good. And since I waited about 5 months instead of 4 months, the way the direction said to, I'll probably get another harvest pretty soon. So we'll check in about a month's time, see how much has dropped down, and we'll go through the same process again. But I can say I'm really happy. This stuff looks great. I got all the few big pieces up, but I'll get those out of there. And what I think I'll do before I package it away, I'm gonna spread it out really good and make sure there are no other worms in there. And if there are, I'll just put them back in the bin. So for now, I have a bunch of scraps in the refrigerator. They've been dying to give to the worms. So let me grab that and we'll wrap it up over by the worm bin. All right, so we're here back in front of the worm bin, and I took the tray that was catching all the worm juice. I poured it in a bucket over there. I'll use that later on in the garden. And I cleaned out the tray. I hosed it down as best as I could. I guess these are what's called clean stains, but ready to catch some more worm juice and looking forward to that. So, like I said, I've been collecting a bunch of scraps that we've had in the refrigerator, and Jackie's been dying for me to get it out of the fridge. So, like I said, I wanted to do it for this once it's all done. And I put a bunch of cuttings from the garden oh yeah, look at all the worms coming in. I put a bunch of suckers that we got from the tomato plants in here. It's okay. There we go. Oh, some of the stuff is really rotting. It's a lot of old fruit and it's smelling. It's like fermenting. It's terrible. Let me get out of here before I lose it on the camera. So, but you saw it. It did pretty well for us. 5 months in, we're very happy with it. We're looking forward to all the worm juice, liquid fertilizer, and the worm castings that it's going to bring for us. And it's going to be interesting. Now we're going to be entering into the fall, so getting a little cooler. I think, like I said, because it's mobile, I'm going to move it to another side of the property that gets a little more sun. This area doesn't get too much, so it was perfect for those hot summer days. But as the days get cooler, we'll move it around. And then it'll be interesting to see come winter, how am I going to feel with this in my garage so the worms don't freeze. But, you know, one season at a time, I guess that's how it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something. If you're into worm farming, vermicomposting, please leave us some comments. We'd love to hear from you, and let me know anything that I'm doing wrong, or any suggestions, or any questions that you might have that I might be able to answer. And be sure to hit like and subscribe and ring that bell. So from all of us at J&D Gardens, till next time, remember, yes we can.